Welcome back to the Short Ball podcast for another week of SG Ball, Harold Matthews action, NRL trials, all that stuff. Plenty of future stars to look out for this weekend, particularly in the NRL trials. Might spend a little bit more time on that, especially because there's 8 games this weekend. So footy's back. Footy's right back into it. Every single fan of the NRL, fan of a club, whatever, has got something for them. In today's podcast, in the weekend of action. So we'll get straight into it with SG Ball and Harold Matthews. First game on the weekend starts at, I'm starting with the SG Ball as I usually do, and we'll go to Harold Matthews. But the first SG Ball game of the weekend starts at 2:30, so I've got about 5 hours Saturday morning where I don't have any games to watch, and then all of them start at the exact same time, pretty much. There's about 5 games within an hour of each other, so that's, enjoyable. Not really, especially when I'm watching every single game, so I can't watch multiple games in the one day, which is going to be frustrating. But we start off with Manly Seagulls versus North Sydney Bears. Manly obviously coming off that very impressive victory against the Warriors over in New Zealand. They won 28-14 on a Tony Large, and Ashton Large were the key players in that one. Ashton Large plays again this week. On a Tony Large we'll speak about a little bit later because he's in the NRL trial. He's been replaced in this one by Kobe Morris. There's been a couple of changes to the lineup. Oscar Crotty goes to centre. So yeah, there's a few things to watch out for here for this Manly side. Especially keen to see how they go with that on Tony Large, because I don't know if he's going to play the full season down in SG Ball. You got Flag and Cup and that, which I think he might feature in a little bit this season. But Kobe Morris, he was a part of their Harold Matthews setup last year. He looks like a pretty solid player. He's sort of that tall, rangy 6. Has a good little short kicking game on him. Runs the ball well, so I'm keen to see how he goes here, especially behind this team that's running full of confidence. They got a good forward pack there, and they went over to New Zealand and were really good in that one. And then across on the other side, the North Sydney Bears, Aiden Crowley lines up at back row. Thought that was an interesting talking point there. Handy little player. I've spoken about him a little bit at the Bears. One that's played multiple years there, mostly at centre, just got a good running game, defence is solid. He's just been really solid for the Bears over the last couple of years, and hopefully, gets rewarded with that, with the Perth Bears now coming in. I don't know what his ceiling is, but I certainly know what his floor is, and that's just a solid player. Joey Wessel was really good last week against the Storm, especially early on. Him and Saxon Gall looked their most likely. They did end up getting beat pretty comfortably by the Storm, but they were competitive for that first half. It was 12-10 at one point. And yeah, those creative guys, the Joey Wesses, the Saxon Galls at fullback and 5'8", looked really good in that time. But yeah, I've spoken about mostly what players to watch in these two sides, but more so looking at this week, just a few of the changes, what to expect from the sides this week. And I think for Manly, it should be more of the same. No one and Tony Large, I don't think, should worry them too much. Kobe Morris is a solid player, as I said. And the way that they beat the Warriors, it wasn't a one-man show. They should do it pretty comfortably again against a Bears side who were disposed of pretty well by the Melbourne Storm. They did put up a fight, and like I said in the preview for the Bears this season, I think they're going to be an improved season. They're not a top 8 side, in my opinion, but I think they've already shown signs of being an improved side. I didn't really like the second half. Storm are a good side, though, and 32-14 was probably accurate, or 32-10, whatever it ended up being. But that was probably accurate to sort of the difference in levels between the two sides. And Manly are another strong side as well. So they had a tough start to the season, the Bears. But I think they should pick up a couple of wins this year. Panthers versus Central Coast Roosters. Panthers obviously went down in a heartbreaker to the Sydney Roosters, who are one of the most stacked sides in the comp. And the Central Coast Roosters were disposed of by the Balmain Tigers. I think the Central Coast Roosters' performance against the Tigers was a little bit concerning. They spent a lot of time attacking, couldn't really score. Balmain's defense was good, as I spoke about on the podcast the other day. But, it was a little bit concerning, that performance, especially defensively, to let in 40 points, and some of those tries were really soft tries. So I think they need to bounce back a lot to catch up with this Panthers side. Wyatt Catton comes into the side at 11, playing in the back row. He's a good player to watch out for there. Apart from that, it's mostly the same side that was sort of disposed of last week, and they need to improve a lot. For the Panthers, Darcy Feltham signed there, so I spoke about him in the Rabbitohs SG Ball preview for this season, how I thought he should be their fullback, and sort of put Isaac Fotsumwala at a 7, but he's been released by the Rabbitohs. He's gone over to the Panthers. He's straight away into their starting fullback role. That moves Hunter Bell to the centres. Kaya Cribb drops out. And another interesting name to note that's come into this team list is Buster Hindmarsh, Nathan Hindmarsh's son. He was playing at the Bears last season. SG Ball was one of their best players throughout the whole season. So I'm very keen to see that back row pairing of Leo Latu and Buster Hindmarsh, because that should be strong on both sides of the ball, and no better game to come into than a game up against the Central Coast at home. They should try and get a little bit of confidence out of this. And Central Coast, I can't see them after getting beat 40 points to 4. I just can't see them rolling over. They'll need to improve. Their forward pack, I think, is a lot better than what they showed on the weekend. So I think they need to be drastic improvers. But Panthers, a very strong side this year. I think they'll be top 8. I've sort of decided on them. I liked what they did in the trial against Parramatta, but then to push the Sydney Roosters all the way, they'd got up 16-0 at one point. I think that's good signs for them. Bulldogs and Raiders was the next game. So for the Bulldogs, you got this is their first week of games. They had a bye last week, so sort of just reacting to their team list. And the first thing that I noticed when I looked at this team list was David Bryonton named at 7. I know he's played a little bit of 6. He's a super talented player. You could probably play anywhere just naturally, but I think fullback's his best position, and I think fullback's the spot that he's going to get his shot at the Bulldogs, just because they, Connor Tracy at fullback compared to, Galvin Woods, Burton in the halves, all those guys that are sort of blocking his pathway as a half. And, he won the Peter Sterling medal at fullback. He's done all these great things playing fullback. He made the Australian schoolboys squad as a fullback. Arguably should have been the starting fullback in that side. I think this is going to be an interesting watch, him playing 7. You got Jai Callaghan at the back. That's going to be super exciting. Those two players, just excitement machines, sort of super agile, can create anything, can create something from nothing rather. Just two super exciting players, both in the spine for this Bulldog side. And then their back 5 is really strong. Paul Johnson, Joe Brock on either side. Marcellus Iacopo and Wesley Papaliafoa in the centres. Two very good players. Wesley Papaliafoa has been killing it for Bass and for Bulldogs over the last couple of years. Sort of that tall, hybrid centre winger. Is quick, runs the ball really well. He's good under the high ball, all these sorts of things. He can be an aerial target with a kick. You can get him early ball and he can beat his man. All these sorts of things that he can do. And, Paul Johnson and Joe Brock have been good for the Bulldogs over the last couple of years. Joe Brock's obviously been very accelerated over the last year or so. He played for Fiji and he's played NRL trials and all that sort of thing. So, very good back 5. I spoke about the spine. Callum Patterson, I'm really keen to see how he goes this year. I think this is a big year for him. And then just another one to touch on, Fine Fale, who did his ACL last season, so missed out, but he was very strong for Butcher Brothers Blacktown in the centres. He's played, back row centre for the Bulldogs 2 years ago, and Harold Matthews as well, and I thought was good there. I think he's a super promising player. Just needs to put it all together. Um, I don't expect it to be perfect. Fresh off an ACL, it could take him a year or two, but the natural talent's all there. He had a game for Patricia Brothers Blacktown in Schoolboy Cup. He was in the centres and he had about 3 or 4 errors, but he just, every single time he touched the ball, he looked devastating. And then I said on the podcast, look, if he puts it together, he'll be the man of the match. I sort of predicted him for my man of the match in the Schoolboy state final for Patricia Brothers Blacktown, and he came out in that game. I think he had a try, a handful of line breaks, a couple of try assists, and just absolutely lit it up. I haven't gotten to see him since then because of the injury, but I'm very keen to see how he goes, especially in the back row. I think he is a really strong ball runner, can run a good line, and he's got that agility and the ability to play a little bit wider. Definitely one to watch there. It's Vinay Farley. Across to the Raiders, they won pretty handily in the end. They were down pretty big against the Dragon side who showed up for the fight, but like I said in the review, it was Cowling and Cooper Johnson that sort of lit it up. This game's going to be very interesting. I do like the bench for the Bulldogs. Viliami Mahi and Tristan Burns are 2 very solid players. CJ Uday, been a good pathways player for them for a few years and showed up for Bass, sort of that 6 and centre, and he can cover a range of positions there. I think I'm going to go with the Bulldogs for this one. Just because that side looks really strong on paper. They got a good forward pack. They got a good bench rotation. Their spine's exciting. Back five's good. And the Raiders just were a little bit shaky. If they start slow again, this Bulldog side looks like a side that can put points on very quickly. Steelers, Roosters. Roosters, a little bit disappointing. But I sort of expect them to start a little bit slow. Especially with how many, just straight up stars they got in this side. I was saying in the preview, the only question is maybe too many chefs. And I think they got it wrong a little bit against Panthers, especially early on in that game. A couple of wrong options taken, just sort of overplaying your hand, forcing it a little bit. But their forward pack certainly did their job, and they decided the game in the end and won it for them. Darcy Smith, Charleston Traore both had really good games. They've got just a strong forward pack all up. Interesting off the bench, one to watch, Nathan Lapamoa. He was sort of coming through over in New Zealand alongside sort of Bishop Neal, and I remember watching a schoolboys tournament where those two absolutely lit it up. So I'm keen to see how he goes off the bench there. Big body, I think he's about 6'4" or 6'5". Rangy, probably a middle forward. But yeah, he's going to be one to watch there off the bench. I'm keen to see how he goes. Knights versus Magpies. Knights spine, again, just highlighted. They were really good in the Sharks game. They just kept coming. Chase Butler had a really good game, both sides of the ball defensively, and then he was just masterful. He had a couple of moments. He dug right into the line, created space for his outside men. I think it led to one of Toby Winter's tries. He had a really good couple of kicks, just found grass, and one of them, ended up landing in the in goal and pinning the Sharks back, sort of inside their 10. He's a well-rounded number 7, Chase Butler. But yeah, we'll sort of, it's not much more to touch on with the Knights that I didn't speak about in that review the other day. With the Magpies, no Phoenix Godinez, no Siatami Avia Jr., no Christian Tapau-Moores. They've just been stripped, and they got, disposed of by the Eels in round 1. So I think Knights should get this done, especially with how depleted the Magpies are at the moment. Dragons and Storm. Dragons were right up for the fight against the Raiders, as I mentioned before. Lorimer Sakuru, he was incredible in that game. I'm keen to see how he goes against, the Storm. It's a tough draw to start the season as well for the Dragons, getting Raiders and Storm straight off the rip. This Storm side's looks really strong. They still don't have Hayden Watson back. I'm not sure what's to go with him. I'd sort of hope he comes back sometime soon, because I really like the Storm side. And Riley Braddock's been doing a great job there at 7 for the moment. Like, his kicking game, I've always rated his kicking game. He was at the Dragons, and I remember watching them play against the Panthers one day a couple of years ago on Mats, and he really kept the Dragons in the game with his kicking. He was ball playing really well in that game last round. He was one of the better players on the park. Joseph Litadamu, he was in the Queensland emerging squad. Really strong player there. Waka Hammond, all these guys. It's a very strong side for the Melbourne Storm. But yeah, there's, I think they'll get it done. And, for the guys for the Dragons, I touched on sort of most of them in the podcast the other day. So we'll move on to the Warriors and South game. One that I really want to talk about and am very keen to see is this back row pairing for the New Zealand Warriors. You've got Desmond Laban and Bishop Neal in the back row. Bishop Neal obviously played last week. Desmond Laban wasn't there. He was part of that Howard Matthews side 2 years ago that won their inaugural competition. Very promising player. When he, in that finals run, he just exploded and went to another level for them. He sort of played a little bit of flag last year at certain points. He didn't play SG ball at all last season. But yeah, he's a very promising player. I'm keen to see how he returns. Haven't seen too much of him since the Howard Matthews campaign, obviously apart from limited minutes in flag. But he's a very good player, Desmond Laban. So one to watch there alongside Bishop Neal. I think, sort of forgotten about after how good his Howard Matthews run was. Desmond Laban it's sort of forgotten with how good Bishop Neal was the year after. I think both of these two, like I was saying in the Warriors preview at the start of the season, it's built off the back of their previous two Howard Matthews competition wins, and Desmond Laban was part of 2024 and a crucial part of it, and Bishop Neal was, the player of the match in the grand final and all that sort of thing in 2025. So, very exciting back row pairing there. Against the South side, who are coming off a tight win against the Steelers, just full of class. This is probably going to be the game of the round, the Warriors and South game. Warriors coming off a loss to Manly. I don't read too much into it. I think just Manly's a good side. Warriors didn't play their best, and that's what happens. It was 28-14 in the end. It probably flattered the Warriors a little bit, but they did, manage to put on a couple of points late. Whereas South were, they were probably, close to being beaten by the Steelers. I thought the Steelers played better for the most part of the game. It's just South, they got the class there to be able to put on points. Cody Hill was enormous in that final 10 minutes. Phil Avakiaho and Caleb Creswell in the middle I really like as footballers. I think Phil Avakiaho, big middle forward, he was important for the Roosters SG ball side last season. And Caleb Creswell, I haven't seen a lot of him, but what I've seen this season has really impressed me so far across, the trials and round one. So keen to see more of him. Sharks versus Eels, last game of the round in SG ball. And no Lincoln Fletcher for the Eels, so obviously provides a little bit of a different look. They've got Oliver Walker there. I haven't seen a whole lot of the names, not familiar to me. Maybe I have seen a bit of him, but just don't remember. But he comes into 7. Samuel Polly's back. I thought he was returning round 4. He's lining up there on the bench. I don't think he'll start unless he starts in the back row at a stretch. But, you got Chris Petra still to come back, and Mikey Now was not moving, and Sterling Farmore, he was really good against the Magpies. So I think Polly will be off the bench for the foreseeable future, because Jackson Coyne is not letting up that 13 jersey. And, Stephen Nunn, Mason Ong. Like, this forward pack for the Eagles, I've spoken about it before, it's insane. They obviously got Cameron Bamblett, who lit it up against the Magpies. So for the Sharks, they mostly line up the same. But yeah, I thought they were disappointing, like I said, against the Knights. I need the forward pack to produce 70 minutes of their absolute best, and they'll be competitive. Hudson Frost, Jamie Curran, Blake Watman, Thomas Dello, Viliami Karoitamana, all these guys are talented players. Thomas Stepich off the bench, this Sharks side is really strong on paper. They didn't deliver in round one. They started off strong and it was almost sort of, jobs done, hands clean and all that sort of thing. And the Knights just kept coming for 70 minutes and, the Sharks couldn't really crack their defensive line, and they were brave in defence when the Knights were battering their line. And, I have to give them credit for that. But I think I want to see a 70-minute performance from every single one of the Sharks forwards, especially against an Eels forward pack that's just super strong. Howard Matthews, Manly Bears. I'll sort of try and go through these briefly because I want to talk about the NRL trials. Really, I've already spent 20 minutes on SG Ball and haven't provided too much substance there. Anything that I haven't really spoken about before anyway. But for Manly versus Bears, Manly strong against the Warriors, a side that's always competitive. Bears scrape through against the Storm. Khalida Vaselli, Jaden Richards, I spoke about them. They went well. Keanu Marn, I think, will continue to deliver performances here. Zach Geddes as well scored a double. Tom Longland, got a couple of really good players here, Manly, and they impressed me a lot against the Warriors in that win. They look like they can put points on very quickly. For the North Sydney Bears, they got a strong spine. Sue Farley, I think, is the one to watch at that club. He wasn't the best player on the ground in that game against the Storm, but he just looked super promising. His touches were really good. He looks like he's got that sort of edge of class. He's got, a good frame. He moves well. The one to watch there for the Bears. Panthers versus Central Coast Roosters. Panthers were dominant in their win, and Central Coast were pretty good as well against Balmain. Like I said, that Sinbin sort of changed the momentum. But Panthers against the Roosters side, who, albeit gave them a lot of ball, I think they're the team to beat. I've been saying that for a while now, just looking at their squad, looking at the, what they've shown in the trials, in glimpses. They did get beat by Parramatta in the trials. I know that. I'm not too concerned about results. Just sort of how they look, what players are standing up. In that first half against Parramatta, they were pretty dominant. Just 1-17. I really like the look of this squad. Charlie Giroud comes back. He's off the bench. I'm not sure that will last very long. Even if it lasts, I don't even know if it lasts until Saturday. They could do a little swapperoo there. But Charlie Giroud is a star. And Jalen Morin is as well. They're both back. So Panthers are pretty much full strength. Unless there's somebody else that I'm forgetting. They're pretty much full strength against the Central Coast Roosters. It's already a top of the table clash, first v second. Gonna be a good one there. Bulldogs Raiders. Bulldogs I'll speak about a little bit because obviously I haven't gotten to speak too much on them with them having the bye and not having squads for my previews and whatnot. First impressions of this side is it's not bad. I sort of, in my preview, I think I had them fringe top 4. And I think I stand by that. Fia Fuaka Tupanua in the centres, he's a very creative player. He's played a bit of half for them. He just looks really promising. Good ball runner. Oka Chan Kum Tong out in the wing. He played a little bit for them last year as well. He's going to be one to watch there. Jaden Tuig and Marlon Nicholas out fullback. Luka Tiawa, he played mostly centre last year when he did play. This year he's moving into the back row. I like that move for him. He's got the ability to play centre, I think. Based on everything I saw, he ran the ball well. He had good hands. He had that agility, but he did have a lot of size to him as well, and I think that suits him in the back row. And then Bronson Tupu off the bench. I like him. And you'll recognise the name Angus Bowen if you were paying attention at anything last year. I think it was with Calibre Sports. They posted up a photo of him when he signed for the Bulldogs. He had that mad haircut. I don't know if he's still got it. I hope he does, because that would be unreal to see how he goes. I want him to just be a good player just based on that haircut. But we'll go over to the Raiders. Just quickly, I thought Sonny Lauval was good. Rafferty Gordon, good. Addis Tilua, Bailey Logue, Campbell Lloyd. It's a strong side. I think Bulldogs on paper are slightly stronger, but I did like the way that the Raiders performed. It's going to be an interesting game there. Very keen to see how the Bulldogs go. Steelers, Roosters. I'm looking for a much improved game from the Roosters. They were dreadful in that second half. They could not hold the ball. And I know in attack they can be so much better. There was a couple of moments in that game. I forgot to sort of speak about it. There was a Sam Large try disallowed for for offside, which I'd need to maybe look at the footage again closer, because I sort of watched it on a laggy stream back. But that looked like a tough call, and that would have put them up 16-0. But, I think they just kept shooting themselves in the foot in that second half. A lot of errors. I'd like to see, the back five need to hold on to the ball a lot better than what they did in that first game against the Panthers. And I think they'll be sweet after that. Their forward pack looks really strong. Marquis Sandown, Cooper Tesoriero, I'm going to say. I was going to say Tesoriero, but I think Tesoriero would be better. Or more accurate. They looked like really promising players in that first game, particularly in the first half. I think the second half, I don't think any of them played particularly well. So if they can hold on to the ball, they'll be nice and competitive against the Steelers side, who won against a brave Rabbitohs side, 18-16. I've said about the Steelers, they'll be a really competitive side this season. A lot of guys returning from last year. Asher Chapman, really good. Oliver Burton, really good. This Howard Matthews week, the more I look at it, it's just stacked with good games. Like Bulldogs, Raiders, Steelers, Roosters. Who was the first two games? Manly Bears was all right. Panthers versus CC Roosters first versus second, so you can't say it's not a good game. This is going to be a cracker weekend of footy by the looks of it. If only I could... get to watch all the games as quickly as possible. But now I've got to wait till fucking 1 o'clock for the first game, and they're all within an hour of each other. Knights versus Magpies, 8th versus 13th. Knights came away with that last-ditch win. Their left edge is the watch this weekend. Malachi Favre, Eli, Nate Vincent, Cade McKay, Riley Roshton. If they repeat what they did last week, it's going to be tough. For the Magpies, who just got beat by the Eels last week. I like a couple of the moves that they've made with their side. Sam Francis comes into centre. Monson Hopewade moves to the wing. I do like that move. Sam Francis, I'm a fan of from what I've seen from him in AJ Cup last year. And Monson Hopewade is obviously a gun. I think he can play both centre and wing. He moves really well. He just sort of does a lot of things that pass the eye test as Monson Hopewade. So, this should be another good game, really. Knights and Sharks. Sharks were good in that game. So I think Knights and Sharks are going to be, they're going to be in the top half of the table. Just based on the quality of that game. I think it was probably one of the best quality. It was the game of the round for mine. And then the Magpies just got pipped by the Eels. I didn't think that was the best quality game. But they've got a strong side on paper. Their back five looks really good. And then, they've got Zephaniah Finau up front, who looked really promising as well. Terrawee Golding Lions, who's offered a little bit in Andrew Johns Cup as well. So, good game there. Dragons versus Storm. Just a couple of players, that I'm really excited to watch this week. And Rocco Walker, keen to see how he backs up his first couple of performances. No Saluki Halangahu, which is disappointing. That certainly doesn't help their chances at all. I do like this Jet Pegram. I do think he's a pretty tough footballer from what I've seen. I've only seen sort of the one game of his from memory, which was last week, but he looked okay in that game. And then across at the Storm, it was going to be a really good lock battle if Halangahu was named, and maybe this Lawson Rinaldi goes good as well. But Offa Benjavini now, he looked incredible for the Storm in week 1. Really keen to see how he goes here against the Dragons, and in what looked like a pretty solid forward pack against the Raiders last week. Warriors versus South. Warriors, disappointing start for the 2-time defending champs with a loss, but I think they'll bounce back this week. The Rabbitohs side has defensively, they looked really strong against the Steelers. They took it to the Steelers last week, and I think this game could be another absolute cracker. You got 2 forward packs who are willing to go for the fight. I think this Mikaeri King Cleve, he's highly touted. I haven't seen a lot of him from memory, although the name does look familiar, but I just can't remember where I've seen him from. But from memory, I haven't seen a lot of him, but highly touted over at South Sydney. So I think he's going to be one to watch there. I'm keen to see how he goes. He's just come straight into the starting lineup after missing week 1. I liked the back rowers. I liked Mehmet Varol off the bench. Anthony Mailangi's obviously a freak at 13. They are missing Xavier, the front rower from last week, who's a good player, promising from Queensland. Davida Hopewade, I only sort of found out, not found out, but realised that he was still under 16s. He's a gun. He's played 2 years of CIS under 15s. He played under 16s Dev last year. I seen him at as well. And he's playing Howard Matthews now in age up. He scored a try last week. It was solid. He's a good footballer, Davida Hopewade. I thought he was top age this year, but no, he was, I just sort of assumed he was top age this year because of how long I've been seeing his name for, and how long I've been watching him for. But he's still under 16, so I think City under 16 side, he's a shoo-in. And Peyton Taylor, I'm very excited to see him go around again. Like I've sort of been saying, I think he'll be the Howard Matthews Player of the Year. Sharks versus Eels last game before I can get into the NRL trials. 32 minutes in. That will probably go for another half hour. Sharks, Eels, Koa Cooper, really impressed with him last game. Jaden Best, Logan Longbottom, Hayden Wooldridge, players to watch there. For the Eels, Larry Masiasu killed it last week. 3 tries and try assist. Hayden Bell's been killing it. Want to see more out of Jake Capavilla. Obviously been a good player for a while, and the 15s and development and all this sort of thing. I know the ability that he's got. Khan Jackson as well in the back row. That back row is really solid. Capavilla, Jackson and Bell. This is going to be another great game. I think, like I said, with the Sharks, I think they'll be in the top half. And Eels, they got away with a win last week. They weren't overly convincing for mine, but they've got the squad there, and they beat the Panthers in the trials. They've well and truly got the squad there. Do the Parramatta Eels. All right. I can get into the trials. Now, I haven't highlighted these names because I've sort of been a little bit busy this morning. But so we're going to do a preview of the trials off the dome. But we start off with the Raiders and the Storm. We'll start off with the Raiders team list and just sort of a reaction to that. Chevy Stewart out the back, standard. Mark Tuiali, he was playing Jersey Flag and New South Wales Cup over the last few years. He's played a bit. He was playing SG ball. I'm pretty sure he made. It was either him or his brother Luke that made the Australian Schoolboys, but one of them did. They're both just, regardless of that, or maybe both of them did, but regardless of that, they've both been really good players coming through the grades for the Raiders, and keen to see how he goes. This centre pairing, Tuiali and Tamale, going to be strong to watch, good out of the backfield. Mark Tuiali can create a lot of points, and obviously we all know what Savio Tamale can do. Jalen Afamasanga named at 6, been a good player for a while there. He was part of the 2023 SG Ball setup that made it to the semi-final before getting knocked out by the eventual premiers. Played a bit of flag and cup and that over the last couple of years, and just a creative, strong ball running number 6 there. He's partnered up with Dane Laurie in the halves. The 2 front rowers are the ones that I'm really excited and keen to watch. Samuel Hine and Vina Patuki Case up against a pretty solid Storm forward pack there, but which we'll get to in a second. But those 2 guys, there's sort of chances popping up at the Raiders to take over from Josh Papali. Vina Patuki Case, I reckon he's got more upside than Samuel Hine. In terms of, he's a bigger body, he moves really well. Samuel Hine, though, he was part of that Origin under-19 setup for Queensland. Really hard worker, hits super hard through the middle there. These 2 guys, for mine, are going to be 2 of the biggest watchers in this Raiders side. Big fan of both of them. Samuel Hine and SG Ball last year was just killing it, and obviously earned that Queensland under-19s call-up, was strong in that game. He rarely performs below a 7.5, 8 out of 10. And then that Vina Patuki Case, I've sort of been following him for a few years. He's sort of been stuck in that Jersey flag purgatory a little bit, but that's good development for a front row forward. He looks like he's got a shitload of upside, does Vina Patuki Case. So we're keen to see how he goes. Jordan Utah's named at 12. You'll remember him from Origin under-19s last year. He's been solid. Down there, he was a former Eel, now with the Raiders. Joe Roddy, try-scoring machine, named at lock. Malachi Smith signing from the Newcastle Knights, pretty crafty, number 9. There, he's coming off the bench. Jays Tuigamala, a lock forward. He was with the SG Ball setup last year, so he's obviously come on a fair bit for them. To be in, the 17 for this trial. Ethan Alea, very promising player. I like him wherever he plays, fullback, 5'8". I think he's going to be an excitement machine over the next couple of years, whatever grade he plays. Jake Clydesdale, Miles Martin, those sorts of guys have been just trucking along for a while down there. I don't know where they're going to get to in their careers, but they've been highly touted. When they were coming through the grades, both around 22 now. They were both a part of that Origin under-19s New South Wales side that had Latu Fainu, Samuel Fainu, Ethan Sanders, Ethan Strains, like that under-19 side. They were both a part of that team, which is really stacked. They pumped Queensland that year. So I'm keen to see the progression from them and if they've come on a little bit. Robin Tuamau, he's an Australian schoolboy, been a good player for the Raiders this last sort of 12 months. Had a couple of concussions at the start of last year, missed a fair chunk of SG Ball, but he's worked for the schoolboys in Schoolboy Cup and for the Australian schoolboys and that carnival was really good. Sort of that strong ball running back row that's good defensively. He moves pretty well. So yeah, one to watch there in the extended bench. Don't know that he'll get too many minutes. But keen to see how he goes against grown men. This will be his first time. He's still SG Ball eligible. He was a part of that Raiders squad. I don't know if he's going to play SG Ball this year, but he'll be a watch. Saxon Innes signed from the Broncos, speed machine out in the wing. Braden Darmody, he's been doing it for a while now at the Raiders, sort of fullback / half. Strong through the hips, good ball runner, well balanced. Has a good kicking game on him. He's got a really good kick return as well if he plays fullback. I'm not sure if he's going to, come on fullback halves, maybe in the outside back somewhere, but he can cover all those sorts of positions. Campbell Munner signing from Manly as well. They've been really astute with their signings, the Raiders, and that's no different. He was a good middle forward for their SG Ball and Jersey Flag last year, so just another middle forward to add to the ranks for the Canberra Raiders. Now for the Storm, my guy to watch and probably the biggest watch throughout the entirety of this preseason trial week is Hugo Peel. He's impressed me for a number of years now, Hugo Peel. He was SG Ball in, I think it was Storm's first season back. He was playing SG Ball. I think he was an age up in that team as well. and he was one of their best players the whole year. He scored heaps of long-range tries, support play, kick returns, all these sorts of things. Defensively, he's a really strong fullback, comes up with numerous try-savers, he returns the ball well, he gets through his yardage. Everything that I've been hearing out of Melbourne is that he's been training elite down there. Storm have been posting a lot about him of late. He's my biggest watch in this whole in all these preseason trials. I think he's going to be a really solid player. He's not that super electric, going to do heaps of freaky shit like some of the other fullbacks you got coming through. Like, he's sort of the antithesis. I tried to say antithesis. He's sort of the opposite to Su'a-Fa'alogo, in the sense that he's going to get through, 200 plus meters. He's not going to let you down. He's going to catch every ball that comes his way. He's going to return them hard. He's going to defend well, all those sorts of things. So, Hugo Peel's my guy to watch in this game. Eli Morris is getting a start at 6. He was part of that Jersey Flag winning team as well. He was a 6. He looks like a very promising player there as well. His partnership with Dylan Brettle was really crucial. Dylan Brettle would be playing in this game if not for a jaw injury that he sustained about a couple of weeks ago. So he would be one name to watch there. Gabriel Satrick, he was a Peter Sterling medalist a few years ago, named at 9 to start. Very electric out of dummy half. He was an Origin under-19 player. He's done, a lot of the things that he's ticked a lot of boxes throughout the junior reps there. Cooper Clark named at 12, which is interesting for mine. I see him more as a middle forward, but he's been dominant throughout the junior grades, and he's probably quick enough to play back row. I'm not sure about his lateral movement in defence. His defence is very good. It's just I've seen him in the middle most of the time, and I haven't seen him defend any wider than that. So keen to see how he goes there. But big body, runs the ball strong. He's really good defensively. Like, he's just a smart footballer. He's got a good tip on, close to the line. They can't stop him. So maybe that's the thinking. You could send him at the halves all day and he'd probably break through at least a handful of times. Amari Milford, highly touted, Queensland under-19s squad member a couple times. Very solid middle forward there. Xavier Lankilde-Fale, he was the back rower last year. Very good bodyguard. And runs a good line. He's very strong. Angus Hinchy, another one that's been highly touted for a few years. Queensland under-19s rep and all those things. Preston Connor, guy I'm a big fan of. I think he's tough as nails. He was the Jersey Flag Player of the Year last year. He's, him and Hugo Peel are probably two of the ones that I'm most excited to watch in this game in terms of NRL prospects this season. I think Hugo Peel, there's a fullback spot open there, obviously. Su'a-Fa'alogo's probably got, the first crack at that, but Hugo Peel's a smoky to get there, and Preston Con for mine. Back row, it's not a position I don't think the Storm need it that desperately, but Eli Katoa obviously going down doesn't help. I think he's sort of like the ideal workhorse back rower, runs a tidy line. Defensively really strong, moves laterally very well. Some of the other guys to watch out for just down the bottom, Amazia Murga, Waka Hammond, he's obviously been one that's playing SG ball currently. Very exciting player. I hope to see him get a couple of minutes. Amazia Murga, highlights reels off the chain with the Ipswich Jets and with Storm over the past couple of years. And Tallis Abel there as well, middle forward. I like the look of him. He was with the Jersey Flag setup last season. Titans Dolphins, that's 1 down, 7 to go. Zane Harrison's named at 7 for the Titans. This is going to be a watch. Clarkie's Ariel Collin put up a thing of his most the guys that he's most excited to see from these trials, or his biggest watch. He's got Siale Fayamani as his number 1. I can't believe Zane Harrison and Cooper Bye aren't up there. Absolutely robbed. But this is a very exciting lineup for Titans fans to get a look at. Siale Fayamani, a bit of an older guy. He's been with the Panthers, sort of center, back rower, winger. Can play cover, all those sorts of positions, moves really well. Sonny Karma's been named at center. I prefer him as a winger. But it is what it is. I think he played cup in the centres as well. He was next to Sam Stevenson on that occasion. Who else from this Titans side? I know it's not a rookie to watch, but Curtis Morin, I really like him as a footballer. He's tough as nails. I think he's mad underrated. And just down the line there, Bodie Sharpley, Queensland under-19s representative, middle forward. I think he does a lot of little things really well. I don't know what his upside is, but he was really impressive in that Queensland under-19s game. Seen him for the Titans over the years as well. Under 20s, 19s for Tweed and all that sort of thing. He looks like a solid player there. Keen to see what he does in his minutes. And just down the line as well, Jet City, who they signed from the Panthers this season. He carved up Newcastle in a trial, under-19s trial. So he's still under-19s as well. Good watch there. For the Dolphins, the first one to really keep an eye on, Brian Poinui, I'm going to say. Apologies if that pronunciation is incorrect. He's been one I've been hearing about for a while. Haven't gotten to see a lot of him because, he's been out with injuries and whatnot. He played a little bit of 20s last year. He was with the Dolphins Malmaninga side. I'm not sure if that was last year or the year before, but he looks like a promising player, sort of can cover centre, back rower, been named in Queensland under-19 squads and all those things. I think he's in the emerging squad this year. He might still be under-19s, which would be impressive if he is, and he's starting in this trial. He's one that I think is going to be a big watch in this game because he could be a future star. Tavita Nafahu, I rate him super highly. He's done the thing in NRL. I think he's being slept on as potentially taking one of those spots on the wing for the Dolphins. The fact that he is lining up in this trial isn't a good sign, but Azarko and Cobbo are as well. Dolphins have named a really strong side for this trial. If they get beat, I'll be greatly surprised. Especially look at this forward pack: Morgan Knowles, Oren Keeley, Kennelly Lemuelu. John Finian Ganofo is playing 9. Hey? Okay, that's interesting. He's usually been sort of a 6 centre or a lock. 9's interesting. I thought he was a bit big of a body to be a 9, but that will be a watch there as well. He was an Australian schoolboy. I think he was a bench pick for the Australian schoolboys a few years ago. Played a lot of Q Cup by now, and mostly, like I said, 6. He's played a bit of centre in Q Cup. I think he's played a bit of lock as well. Just gets to add another position to his bow. Unless he has played a bit of 9, and I just haven't seen it. Obviously, the Queensland guys I don't get to watch as much. I do try and keep my eye on them, but maybe I've just completely missed that. But that's caught me off guard. Him playing 9. Toby Batten named at 17. He was the Australian schoolboy last year, the 7. He sort of popped up out of not nowhere. Like, obviously, he was a good player, and people who'd been watching him in Laurie Daly and then country under 18s knew what he was. But he's exploded off the map this season. With Australian schoolboys, and he's now taken the step up to. I think he played 20s last year for Dolphins as well. About halfway through the season, or he played something for the Dolphins last year, maybe not 20s, but to then make the step up to being the jersey 17 in this trial. Keen to see how he goes. Elijah Rasmussen, a guy that I've been watching for a few years as well at the Dolphins, big middle forward, a lot of upside there. Lewis Simons, another one that's sort of been there and thereabouts for a few years. 21, 22 years old now. He was part of the Queensland under-19 side 2 years ago. That sort of tough middle forward, got a bit of ball playing skill to him. So keen to see if he gets on in that 13. Tyrese Tate, Zach Gutton, Jack Finnegan, Elijah McKay, they're all sort of similar boat, just coming through the grades. Tyrese Tate's a little bit older than those other guys, but they're all promising youngsters there. Sangster Fagoda, I thought he was with the Broncos. Maybe he wasn't moved. Promising centre there as well. I probably should talk a little bit more about those two back rollers down the bottom in Garden and Finnegan. They've been under-19s Queensland representatives. Jack Finnegan, I really like. as a player. I think his carries are really good. Finds his front, gets quick, play the balls all the time. He's turned into he was really physically grown over the last couple of years. He was really good for PBC, Tweed Seagulls, all those sorts of teams. He looked strong in the Queensland under 19 side. So yeah, I think he's going to be one to watch there at the Dolphins. They got no shortage of back rowers, the Dolphins. Next game, Cowboys versus Panthers. Now the Cowboys will be mostly full strength, so not as much to talk about there. We'll see if there's any rookies named at all, but there probably won't be. Jackson Edgar, he's named at fullback. He could be, a good backup fullback this season for the Panthers. He made his debut late last year. It was the 18th man activated. Didn't really count. He played 6 minutes, but a good player there in Jackson Edgar. He was a Harold Matthews Player of the Year a few years ago. Good support player, lightning around the ruck, sort of that Ryan Pappenhausen style of fullback. He's a little bit thicker. He looks like he's got a little bit more size to him than, like a Pappy does. But, yeah, very similar sort of player, quick around the ruck. Nick Murphy and Jesse McLean on the wings. Jesse McLean, a little bit surprising that he hasn't kicked on or moved elsewhere or whatever. But, he's obviously, as most people know, has been a really talented player coming through the grades for a while. And Nick Murphy, he was part of the Flag setup last year, played a lot of Cup as well. Good try scorer, just effort on effort. Not sure, again, with him what his upside is, but he just keeps ticking boxes each grade that he goes up to, so you can't sleep on him. Toby Crosby is going to start at 10. Obviously, we all sort of know how good he is. Billy Scott, New South Wales Cup. I think he was the hooker of the year last season. He's just progressively gotten better and better. He was part of the New South Wales under-19 setup a few years ago. He's a bit of a bigger body for a number 9, but he is very crafty around the ruck. He's defensively really sound. He does a lot of very, very small things correct. His service is good. One to watch there for the Panthers. Zachary Clark, he's sort of been doing it for a little bit now. He was part of the Western Suburbs Magpies SG Ball setup, and he was part of that Harold Matthews side that won the comp that was stacked, with like Galvin, Talon De Silva, all those sorts of guys were in there. Luke Laulili, Kit Laulili. A lot of really good players were in that side, and Zachary Clark was in that side as well in the back row. I believe he was in that side. If not, he was in the SG Ball that year, whatever. But I'm fairly certain he was in that side. I'm sort of having second guessing myself about it now, but he definitely has played footy with Lachlan Galvin. I know that for sure. Billy Phillips as well, lock. He's sort of gone under the radar a little bit, and him starting at lock's interesting for me here. He's, SG Ball, Jersey Flag. He's done a number of years. I think he'd be about 22, 23 by now. But, a strong, hard-working middle forward there. Jensen Tuau, he gets a chance in the 14 jersey, very zippy, number 9. If he gets on and, the forward pack's a little bit tired for the Cowboys, he can create something out of nothing. Been playing SG Ball Jersey Flag for a number of years now, so I like him as a player. He was at Patrician Brothers Blacktown as well, and was doing good things there. He was in rotation with Matty Arthur a few years ago, and that was a pretty strong hooking rotation. Hokafonu Lamoto, really good front rower, rarely fails to find an offload, and rarely are those offloads forced or inaccurate. They typically do find a good target. Hami Loza's signed with the Panthers as well. Promising number 7. He was sort of, I was speaking about this earlier today, he was, probably down the list of halfbacks last year, but mate, you could be a top 10 halfback in SG Ball last year and you're still a really good player. Cameron Canaan sort of floating around the Tigers for a bit. He signed with the Panthers. Interesting watch. And Tyson Sangalang as well. I'd prefer to see him play through the middle, but Panthers have sort of been playing him as a back rower. He's only sort of 20. He was an Australian schoolboy. Promising young player there. Off the bench, most of these guys. Liam Sutton, Mason Barber are my 2 biggest ones to watch there for the Cowboys. As we move on to the Warriors and Seagulls, Warriors should have a couple of decent young guns here. Hazen Mellors, I really like the look of him. He was playing Rabbitohs SG ball. He sort of had a little bit of time off in that New South Wales Cup. He come back and was really good for them. He played good in flag as well last season. So I think he's now going on 22. Keep a close eye on him. Warriors fans, he's really rangy, good under the high ball, can sort of create something from nothing. He's had those opportunities where, you get the kick out wide, the defender comes in, it looks like there's nothing on, but then he just pulls off a freakish offload or is able to somehow break the tackle. Lega Halasima at centre is very interesting. He's obviously got the ability to play there. Luke Hanson at 6, he's been knocking around New South Wales Cup for a couple of years now. He's sort of only 21, 22 as well. He's done a very good, tutelage. Is that the word I'm looking for? Probably. In New South Wales Cup under, I think he was there Sean Johnson's last year. He might have been there, or maybe he signed the year after. Regardless, anyway, he's done really good things in New South Wales Cup over the past 2 years, and that's the main point I'm getting at. Forward pack is mostly first graders that you know about. Sam Healy, I think he's pretty well known now. Kalis Fatialofa, he is the one to watch for the Warriors. Killed it in New South Wales Cup last year, especially the start of the year. He was scoring tries for fun. He's super damaging. He is like that, like a Halasima mould, that Jacob Laban mould of back rowers that have been coming through the grades. Eddie Eramia Toava, these guys. Kalis Fatialofa, just add him to the list. He's super strong, edge back rower, moves really well laterally. He's got a mean step on him. He can fend you off. He's got a range of weapons that he can beat you with. Tanner Stella Smith, I'm a huge fan of him. He's played a couple of first grade games now, but I still feel like he's a little bit slept on. Just a nuggety middle forward who, he might not have the highest upside of these forwards coming through, but he can be a really solid bench front rower or starting front rower that gets through a lot of work. He can be, your Corey Jensen style, your Aaron Clark styles, just these sort of nuggety, strong middle forwards that just get through heaps of work. Siokali, I was keen to see sort of named a bit higher up the pecking order than what he's named here. Like, you got Kalis Patoko, Dayon Amatuenai, all these guys. Really promising young players. Siokali's, really good player. Harry Inch, I'm keen to see how he goes. He was a schoolboy union prospect, I believe, that the Warriors have managed to sign, which is good shopping there. Jack Thompson, probably the one to watch there, the 7 on that extended bench. I'm a big fan of his as well. I think he's still SG ball eligible. Yeah, he's still SG ball eligible, Jack Thompson. He should be. Yeah, right. Okay. So, yeah, just another one of those promising young sort of spine players that are SG ball eligible that are on those extended benches. I'm keen to see how he's going with his footy, because he didn't play SG ball at all last year, really. He played a bit of Jersey flag and was good there as an 18-year-old. So, obviously got a lot of talent. For the Manly Seagulls, this is stacked with young guys to talk about. Navrin Willett, 6'7", moves crazy well for that size. He's going to be one to watch there for the Manly Seagulls. He's got a shitload of upside. This 6, 7, and 8, get very used to seeing that, Manly fans. Honor Tony Large, Joey Walsh, Simeon Leafi. Mate, there are 3 super high value prospects for NRL level prospects for the Manly Seagulls. On Tony Large, everybody knows about him. Joey Walsh, everybody knows about him. Simeon Leafi, I feel like, is a little bit slept on. He's gone under the radar. Last year, I had him in my bench for my New South Wales under-19s. He didn't end up making it, but mate, he's played, I think, 9 New South Wales Cup games. He's played a lot of Jersey flag, SG ball last year, and the year before he was an Australian schoolboy. He's ticked off a lot of high-level things coming through the grades. Big body, middle forward, something that Manly desperately need. Been hearing good things about his pre-season. He apparently killed it in that scrimmage that they did against the Dragons a couple of weeks ago. He is the guy for me that if he kicks on could be super crucial to this Manly side. On a Tony Large, for the ones that, don't know too much about him because they're not as tapped into the junior reps, he's, a tall body, number 6, runs the ball really well, carved up in SG ball the other day, and he's going to go from that to starting in an NRL trial. So that sort of tells you what talent you're working with here. Hugo Hart in the back row, very solid player there. I like him. He done a lot of good things in New South Wales Cup last year after starting the year in SG ball. He's only 20 years old. Big body back rower. Works really well defensively. He puts his body into some weird positions. It got him in a little bit of trouble in a Jersey Flegel New South Wales Cup game mid last year. He got knocked out like a minute into one of his debuts, whether it was for Flegel or Cup. But yeah, he's a very strong back rower there. Zadis Mwanga Tutiar, highly touted 9 coming through the grades there. Big body. I sort of see him more as a lock. He likes playing 9. He's played 9, his whole career. He's been at Eels and Bulldogs and all that. He's now sort of found a home at Manly. He can do some freakish things out of number 9, and he is that big body, good running. But yeah, he's going to be one to watch off the bench there for Manly. And then Anders Johansson, who's a under 19s player. He's in the SG ball setup. He's named in the 19 jersey. So obviously they like him a lot there, the Manly Seagulls. He's a class player as part of that Eels side last year that went really well and just fell short in SG ball, and now he's gone over to Manly and obviously made an impression. He's still in the under 19s there as well, so promising future on him. Tom Summer was also there. He was a part of that SG ball side last year as well. Very versatile player, off the bench, just runs hard. I like him for his physicality. Now this Tigers versus Roosters side, this could be the most stacked with young players. The Roosters side has 3 members of their SG ball set up here, and I think they're all starting or they're all in the first 17. You got Rex Bathingthwaite. If you don't know this kid now, get familiar with his name because I think he's a Tedesco replacement. He won't debut this year. Maybe he will on the wing or something. But, he's only 19 or 18 or 19. Dual code superstar, absolute freak. I still remember watching a game. I think he was up against the Tigers and he had like two or three kick returns that he went big on. He does explode for those big meter runs fairly often. He's a good support player. His ball playing's come along a little bit as well over the years. He's a very talented and electric player, and he's going to be, I think Roosters fans, you should be keeping a close eye on him in this game. He might not dominate straight away, and that's the thing, right, is I'll say these players to watch and the guys that, you should keep an eye on because they're freakish in the junior grades. They're not necessarily going to dominate these NRL trials straight away. If they do, it's a sign of a very special player, but you can have a stinker in an NRL trial. It doesn't mean much, really. He's still very young. He's 18, 19 years old. He's still part of the SG ball setup. He'll probably be in the New South Wales under-19 side. I'd imagine he'd be first picked at fullback there. So, if he doesn't kill it, I'm not too worried. Regardless, he's a freak. If he does come out and kill it in this game, though, Roosters fans will know that they've got a future star on their hands. I really like Celeste Fiketti. I like that he's been named in the back row. Very strong defensively. I don't think that's been highlighted enough. The contact that he can have defensively. Just stumbling over my words there an hour in. Like this bench, Jackson Allen, Jackson Stewart, Tula Seve, Dila Sele-Va'a. A very big pairing with Dila Sele-Va'a and Tula Seve. And then Jackson Stewart, promising centre/fullback. I think he's more of a centre. He played a bit of fullback last season in SG ball, but I think he's a better centre. And Jackson Allen at 9. He was New South Wales under-19s, number 9 last season. Lachlan Dooner, number 19. Yeah, he can play a range of positions there, Lachlan Dooner. Between he started off in the 6 jerseys, played a bit of back row, centres, wing. very tall, physical ball runner. He's got a big boot on him as well. Louis Lee. Louis Lee in the 22 jersey. He might not get many minutes here. He's another one part of the SG ball setup. Very big, damaging front rower, center. One-on-one, he's a nightmare matchup. And apart from that, Aston Warwick and Hayden Barton, two battlers, just solid middle forwards who I like, have impressed me in, jersey flag and all that sort of thing. And these middle forwards do take a little bit more time to develop. They're probably getting on a little bit, but they could be ones that debut sometime down the line. I think Hayden Barton may have debuted. No, that would be incorrect. Knights, Bulldogs. Two teams that should have mostly full-strength sides. Don't need to touch on too much there. As I quickly look, nothing really to touch on. Just that Wilson DeCourcy, I think, is a good player. Yeah, and Jermaine McEwen, I think, should start in the back row. Next up, Dragons, Rabbitohs. Just getting real scratchy in the throat here. This is a big carry. Talanoa Penatani, keep an eye on him this season. I prefer him on the wing, but I don't think he's going to get that opportunity. They've signed Geordie Mazzoni from the Bulldogs. He's a very lightning fast winger. He's impressed at the Bulldogs over the last couple of years, flag and SG ball. He's played a little bit of cup as well. Him and Jonathan Sewell, really, really promising wing pairing, coming through the grades together. He's now with the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and I don't know that he debuts, but he could be a promising watch in New South Wales Cup. He's obviously got a whole lot of upside, just with his natural and athletic ability. They've gone with Ashton Ward and Jonah Glover in the halves for this one. I imagine that would be the shootout for that 7 jersey next to Cody Walker. Celesi Ateata, another one of those middle forwards who's just taken a little bit of time to develop. He's a big body through the middle, something that the South Sydney Rabbitohs desperately need. He was originally at the Sharks. He signed for the Rabbitohs last season, was good in Cup. He was really good in flag for the Sharks a few years ago. I think he was part of that Sharks side that made it to the grand final in flag. If I'm not remembering incorrectly. He's caught my eye over the last couple of years. I think he's about 23 now. About time for him to sort of step up, and I think he'll debut this season for the Rabbitohs. Like this back row pairing of Fletcher and McCarthy, just two strong, tough back rowers. Thomas Fletcher's really physical through the line. Max McCarthy, sort of similar. They're actually very similar players, Fletcher and McCarthy. Fletcher's probably a bit bigger, keep an eye on them. And then just down the page on the extended, you've got Matty Humphries, who's obviously, I've spoken a lot about him. I don't need to say too much more. Their Dragons, I think they got a mostly full-strength side for this. They should not be losing this game. I don't know if there's any... there's not really anyone to talk about there. Obviously, because, they're going to Vegas, this is going to be, a pretty full-strength side. Off the bench, guys that I've already spoken about a lot, like King Dongia, Cade Reed, Jacob Alangayo, Hayden Buchanan, etc., etc. Raiders versus Storm. That was the... Okay, where's the other games disappeared to? Sharks Eels. There we go. Last one. Raiders v Storm. I was getting deja vu there looking at that. Sharks Eels, last game of the week. We got a very good, interesting fullback battle here with Liam Ice and Isaiah Yongi. Everybody sort of knows about both of them. Well, obviously, you know about Yongi if you're following NRL. Haven't been living under a rock. And Liam Ice, and if he didn't do his ACL last year, I'd imagine he'd have played a few more first-grade games. He obviously debuted 2 years ago. He's been very good in Cup for a number of years. He's sort of 20, he'd be 22 now. Entering that stage where it's he's going to be sort of starting to peak in terms of pushing to an NRL spot. Micah Gabriel, good to see him named at centre. I think he's one that's pushing to sort of get Ronnie Mulatalo's spot early. He's been a promising centre prospect for a number of years now. So yeah, he's going to be a big watch for Sharks fans. Riley Pollard, been kicking around. He's done a good apprenticeship there. I don't know that he's going to get a spot anytime soon in first grade. He might have to go elsewhere. But he's done a very good apprenticeship there, and can cover 6 and 7. And yeah, he's done really good things for the Newtown Jets. Sharks, Jersey Flag, he took them to a grand final as well. So he's been patient there. He might have to continue to be patient, but he's a promising prospect. Felix Fartilli, he was another one from that Sharks Jersey Flag side from a few years ago that made the grand final. Harrison Hassett, solid player. Jackson Lavender, Samuel McCulloch, another two, similar stories with them. Just solid players that have done a lot of good things in their Jersey Flag careers and whatnot. Xavier Cacciotti, he's been down at the Raiders. He comes up to the Sharks. Can play 9 and lock. He's done good things in SG Ball, Jersey Flag. And Taj Ford as well. Lightning fast, sort of can play fullback, can play 5'8". He's, each grade that he's gone up to, he's done really good things in. So I think he's a little bit underrated. But yeah, if he comes onto this game and the Eels middles are tiring, he could rip them apart, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. Nakora Williams as well, Australian schoolboy, New South Wales under 19s, etc., etc. Now for the last team, the Eels, the mighty Parramatta Eels. I'm not even going to look at that starting side again because it is pretty much full strength. I'm just going to go straight to their extended bench. Lorenzo Talatena, Ryder Talangi, stars of the future. They're very good players. I like Lorenzo to be the long-term 6 once Peasant moves on. And I like Ryder Talangi to come into that front row. He's impressed a lot of people this preseason. He's been doing good things for the last 2 years in Howard Matthews and SG Ball. He's still SG Ball age. He played last week in SG Ball. I like him. Lincoln Fletcher's getting a run. Good player, as you know. Richard Penasini, I think he needs some respect on his name. That kid is still 20, or might be 21, but he's young. He was SG Ball age in 2024, so he's at most 21 years old. He could still play Jersey Flag. Played a full season New South Wales Cup last year. If there was any other 19, 20-year-old playing a full season New South Wales Cup and performing well, mind you, there would be a lot more hype around his name. He did his ACL 2 years ago, which was, obviously not... it obviously set him back a little bit. He's now 2 years removed from an ACL. He's now a year removed from that. He's played a full season of footy. Defensively, he's a really strong defender. And if anything, as a Parramatta fan, I'm concerned about defensively. Brian Kelly, maybe it was the Titans that was making his defense not look as good, but I think if his defense is really struggling and we're leaking points through that edge, I think Richie Penasini can be a guy that plugs that hole. Attacking, he's got a lot of upside. He didn't do much in New South Wales Cup last year on the attacking front, but defensively, he was lockdown defender, especially late in the year. Like he had a game late in the year, I think it was against Newtown Jets, where they just could not score down his edge. They went at him 4 or 5 or 6 times, and he was making great try-saving tackles. He was chopping blokes at the legs. Really good technique. Similar to sort of Will when he was coming through the grades. Will's defense has sort of fallen off a little bit of recent times. It's a bit more hot and cold, I should say, rather. I still think he's got that good defensive background, but he has been slipping off tackles a fair bit. But Richie Penasini, yeah, he's got all the tools there. I think he's majorly slept on. I still think he's a first grader and a good first grade prospect at that. Done. Beautiful. We'll, do this all again next week. I don't know if I'm going to do that review podcast again, just because I ended up cutting off a lot of the content that I could do for this week. for this one. So I focus more on the NRL trials this week. There won't be as much NRL trial stuff to talk about next week, but I'm going to come in with a few dot points of things that I want to talk about in regards to NRL rookies. And I am going to do a podcast regarding the best rookie at each club, so stay tuned for that. That should be a pretty big one. But other than that, yeah, make sure you tune in Instagram, Spotify, all these things. Leave positive reviews, leave likes, leave comments. Be engaged. And yeah, I'll see you all on the next one.